Discover the incredible moment a homeless woman taught a billionaire 3 life-changing lessons. Jack Thompson was once the king of the corporate jungle, a billionaire whose name was synonymous with power and success. But the once glimmering empire he built collapsed overnight, shattered by a financial scandal that upended his life. Now, as he wandered aimlessly through downtown Chicago, surrounded by the bustling streets, he felt like a ghost in the city he once ruled. The skyscrapers loomed above him, indifferent to his fall from grace. He felt lost, a man stripped of his identity, grappling with a gaping void where hope and purpose used to reside. It was on this gloomy afternoon, sitting on a park bench, that Jack's world shifted unexpectedly. His eyes fell upon Miriam, a weathered homeless woman, her face lined with stories of hardship yet marked by an undeniable strength. She wore layers of clothes that seemed patched from years of struggle, but her smile was radiant, illuminating the dull gray world around her. With a warmth that seemed to beckon Jack from the shadows of despair, she reached into her small bag and pulled out a simple meal, a half sandwich and an apple. "Care to share?" she asked, her voice inviting. As they shared that meager meal on the bench, something struck Jack deeply. Here was a woman who had faced countless challenges, yet her spirit soared like a kite in the open skies. Miriam spoke softly about gratitude, telling Jack how even the tiniest acts of kindness from strangers had kept her going. She told him how every day was a gift, a chance to connect with someone new, to hear a story, to share a laugh. Jack listened, eyes widening as he realized the stark contrast between her stories of community and the lonely existence his wealth had afforded him. "Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen." Now let's continue. As Miriam wove through her tapestry of experiences, Jack felt a tightness in his chest. Her laughter and resilience contrasted with the hollow accolades that accompanied his past. She spoke of humility, explaining how there's strength in vulnerability. The wisdom she displayed pushed Jack to confront not just his privilege, but the deep-seated loneliness that had crept into his life. They laughed, cried, and shared in a moment that may have seemed trivial, yet it felt charged with an electrifying truth. Just when Jack was beginning to embrace these teachings, a familiar figure emerged from the crowd, an old business partner, eyes gleaming with judgment. The specter of his past was here, ready to unearth the shame he thought he could escape. Fear gripped Jack's heart as he grappled with the decision that lay ahead. Would he return to that hollow world of status and wealth, or would he dare to lean into the lessons of authenticity that Miriam had so generously shared? With Miriam's eyes locked onto his, reflecting compassion and understanding, the air thickened with tension. The siren blared in the distance, signaling the chaos of the city that never sleeps. Jack stood, torn between two worlds. Could he truly change, or was he destined to fall back into shadows? Jack took a breath, the weight of his past pressing down like a heavy fog. He could feel the familiar pulse of ambition surging within him, mixed with a new, raw urgency to forge a different path. The man approaching him was Ray, a former associate who had stood by his side at the peak, celebrating victories and reaping the rewards of their hard work. But now, Ray was a reminder of everything Jack had lost and a stark contrast to the transformative light he found in Miriam. "Jack! Is that you?" Ray called out, disbelief etched on his face. Jack's heart raced, his mind scrambling through fragments of old conversations filled with laughter and dreams. The man was still sharp-dressed, just as he had always been, but Jack now saw the sheen of greed beneath the surface. Time seemed to slow as though the city had paused its ceaseless hustle to watch the reunion unfold. Jack forced a smile, turning his eyes briefly to Miriam, whose serene presence steadied him. "Yeah, it's me," he responded, the confidence in his voice wavering. "What are you doing here?" Ray laughed, but it didn't reach his eyes. "Checking in on you, my friend. Heard the news, how could I not?" He glanced at Miriam, assessing her without a hint of tact. "Looks like you've traded in your high-rise for new friends." The insult hung heavily in the air, sharp and stinging. Jack's gut churned as he felt the old shame creeping back. Yet, amidst the chaos of his emotions, a flame ignited within him. He had just shared warmth and laughter with Miriam, who saw more in him than the weight of his wealth or the chains of failure. "I've learned a lot lately, Ray," Jack replied, calming his breath. "Sometimes it takes losing everything to find what really matters." Ray raised an eyebrow, disbelief transforming into a smirk. "This is how you cope with the fall? By hanging out with her?" He gestured dismissively at Miriam, who now watched the exchange with quiet strength. Jack felt the flush of anger rise. "You don't understand," Jack countered, his voice gathering strength. "Miriam has a resilience I've lost sight of. She taught me that life isn't about money. It's about connection, humility, and purpose." For a split second, a genuine look crossed Ray's face, but it was quickly veiled by his trademark mockery. "You really think there's a future in that?" Jack took a step forward, his heart pounding. "I'm done chasing empty victories, Ray. Something inside me has shifted, and I can't go back to that world. I want to do better, to make a real impact." Miriam smiled softly, her eyes brightening as she heard the shift in his tone. Jack knew this acceptance wasn't just about him, it was about everyone who fought against their circumstances. It was about recognizing the power in their shared humanity. Ray scoffed, shaking his head. "This is a joke. You think you can just walk away?" "In a way, I've already walked away," Jack replied, meeting Ray's gaze without flinching. "But this is just the beginning. Life has shown me there's more to be gained here than there ever was in the boardroom." Jack could feel Miriam's support beside him, giving him a protective strength he had never anticipated. It took everything he had to withstand Ray's sneer as he turned from old friendships and the old self toward an uncertain yet hopeful future. As Jack watched Ray's figure recede into the bustling crowd, he felt an unfamiliar lightness, a rising hope mixed with trepidation. But what new challenges awaited him now that he was stepping into a world where his values were truly tested? With Miriam beside him, the city's chaos now felt like a chorus of new possibilities. He was ready to seek them out. But as they parted ways, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that old connections have a way of cementing in unexpected places. Little did he know, Ray wouldn't be the last ghost of his past to haunt him. Where would this newfound purpose lead him next? Jack walked down the bustling street, a mix of exhilaration and uncertainty swirling in his chest. Each footstep was a silent proclamation of his intent to embrace this new chapter. Beside him, Miriam radiated a quiet strength that grounded him. She noticed his lingering doubts and stole a glance, her smile warm and encouraging. "What's on your mind?" she asked, her voice tender yet probing. "Just, what if Ray is right? What if I can't really change?" His words tumbled out, thick with vulnerability. The echoes of Ray's scoffing laughter still danced in his ears. Miriam shook her head. "Change isn't about what others believe. It's about what you choose to do. Think of all the lives you could touch." He nodded but couldn't shake the weight of doubt. Life after losing nearly everything was intimidating. "Let's take it one step at a time. No need to rush into anything," she suggested, nudging him lightly. "Why don't we volunteer at the shelter tonight? It could be a good way to start." The thought flicked a spark of interest in Jack. He knew the shelter, he had attended many galas there. But now, the idea of stepping inside as a volunteer was both inviting and frightening. "Yeah, I think I'd do like that," he admitted, a newfound excitement bubbling within him. As they continued walking, they came upon a small park. Children laughed and played while adults chatted, their warmth wrapping around Jack like a comforting blanket. He absorbed every moment, each laugh a reminder of life's simple joy, a stark contrast to the frenetic pace he had known. "Look." Miriam pointed to a woman sitting on a bench, her clothes tattered but her eyes bright, filled with wisdom. "Let us go talk to her." Curiosity piqued, Jack agreed. As they approached, he noticed the woman's hands were calloused, evidence of a long and challenging journey. Her presence exuded resilience. "Hello there," Miriam said cheerfully. "What's your name?" Clara, the woman replied, her voice soft but steady. And you two are a rare sight here. Most people rush past. Jack felt the warmth of embarrassment creep into his cheeks. We're just trying to help out. Volunteering at the shelter tonight, he stammered. Clara smiled knowingly. Helping others is the best way to help yourself too, she said, a glimmer of hope in her gaze. You'll learn more from them than you think. Jack swallowed hard, uncertain of his own worthiness. What do you mean? Each person has a story. Each person is fighting something. Your compassion will open doors for you, and you'll find lessons hidden in unexpected places, Clara answered, her words striking a chord deep within Jack. The truth of her statement settled around him like a warm embrace. Each loss and every struggle had not only shaped him but also prepared him for this moment. Do you mind if I ask you something? He ventured. Ask away, dear, Clara replied, tapping her fingers rhythmically against the wooden seat. What's the biggest lesson you've learned? Clara paused, her gaze drifting to the sky. Life isn't just about surviving. It's about connecting. You find joy even in the smallest moments. And sometimes, hope shows up when you least expect it. Jack felt the weight of her words resonate in his heart. He was beginning to understand this wasn't just about re-establishing himself, it was about redefining who he was in the process. And you can always find light, even in the darkest places, Clara added softly, looking straight at him. Thank you, Clara, Jack said, feeling a connection born from shared humanity. As they said goodbye to Clara and walked away, Jack's thoughts turned to the shelter and the people he'd encounter there. I feel like this is going to change everything, he murmured, excitement tingling through him. Miriam took his hand, her squeeze offering support. And who knows what else you'll discover about yourself along the way. The path ahead was still shrouded in uncertainty, but for the first time, Jack felt anticipation rising like a tide. But as he stepped into the shelter, he couldn't shake the nagging thought that perhaps Clara was right. He was on the brink of a revelation that would change not just him, but everyone he'd meet. What other secrets lurked in the stories waiting to be told? The shelter hummed with life, a vibrant tapestry woven with stories, struggles, and hope. Jack felt a rush of warmth envelop him as he stepped inside, the scent of coffee mingling with the faint smell of something fried, creating an oddly comforting atmosphere. Let us find out where we can help, Miriam said, her enthusiasm lifting his spirits. They approached the counter where a woman with kind eyes and a weary smile greeted them. Welcome. I'm Linda, the volunteer coordinator. You both are here to lend a hand? Absolutely, Jack replied, his heart pounding with a mix of eagerness and nerves. Wonderful. We can always use more hands. Why don't you start by helping with dinner preparation? We're serving chili tonight. Jack exchanged glances with Miriam, both grinning at the prospect. They followed Linda into the kitchen, the sound of laughter and clattering pots echoing around them. As they worked side by side, Jack chopped vegetables while Miriam stirred the bubbling pot. The warmth from the stove radiated against his skin, and for the first time in ages, Jack felt alive. Each slice of the knife was liberating. He let his mind wander, thinking of Clara's words. Life was about connecting, he was learning that now. The kitchen buzzed with energy as other volunteers joined in, each one adding to the symphony of chaos and camaraderie. Time slipped away, and before he knew it, they were ladling out steaming bowls of chili. Jack watched the guests arrive, each face a mix of apprehension and hope. A few smiled, others appeared lost or weary. The first bowl was served to a man with long hair and tired eyes. When he received it, those eyes brightened, and Jack felt a swelling of pride. Hey, you're doing great. Miriam whispered, nudging him gently. It feels good, Jack admitted, watching the man savor the meal. As the evening unfolded, he saw families sitting together, friends sharing stories, and strangers offering comforting words to each other. Jack's heart swelled. This was the connection Clara had talked about. Halfway through the serving, a young girl approached, her small frame slightly trembling as she clutched a stuffed animal. Can I have some more? She asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Jack felt an ache in his chest. Of course. He replied, kneeling to her level. What is your name? Lily, she whispered, eyes wide and hopeful. He filled her bowl twice, trying to gauge a smile on her face. There you go, Lily. Enjoy. And keep that stuffed buddy close. She giggled, causing Jack's heart to flutter. As the night drew toward a close, Jack noticed Miriam speaking with an elderly woman who had been eating alone. He couldn't hear their conversation, but the warmth radiating from Miriam was infectious. During a lull, Jack stepped outside for a moment of fresh air. The chill night brushed against his skin, and he closed his eyes, letting the breeze wash over him. He felt lighter, as if the burden of his past was fading. When he opened them, he saw Clara sitting at a nearby bench, her familiar smile drawing him in. What brings you back here? Jack asked, settling beside her. I like to keep an eye on where hope flows, she replied softly. You've got a big heart, Jack. It shines bright tonight. The compliment touched him deeply. I'm just trying to find my way. It feels like I'm learning so much here. Clara nodded knowingly. Remember, everything we do ripples out further than we realize. Your kindness is a thread in the fabric of this community. Keep weaving. As he prepared to reply, a loud shout rang from inside the shelter. The sound of laughter and joyous voices erupted. Jack's curiosity pulled him back in, and as he stepped toward the doorway, he felt something stirring inside him. There was a calling, something more, perhaps? Miriam rushed over, excitement radiating from her. Their essay talent show starting. They want everyone to join in. Talent show? Jack echoed, uncertainty creeping in again. Yeah. It'll be fun. Come on, let us be part of this. As Jack glanced back at Clara, he recognized the invitation was more than a chance to showcase talent, it was a chance to be part of a transformation. Was he ready to step further out of his comfort zone? With the laughter from inside echoing around him, Jack took a deep breath. Okay, let us do this. The energy surged through him, ready or not, every heartbeat felt like an awakening for something more. But what would he find once he let go and joined in? The stage was set for more than just talent, it felt like the start of something extraordinary. Jack was on the brink of a revelation that could twist his new journey in ways he never expected. What awaited him in the unfolding stories of others? Jack felt a surge of excitement as he stepped back into the shelter. The hum of laughter and chatter enveloped him like a warm hug. The talent show was in full swing, the stage lighting casting a soft glow over the makeshift audience, a blend of volunteers and guests, all watching with eager faces. Miriam was already in the front, waving him over. Come on, you have to see this. It's amazing. Intrigued, he moved closer and caught sight of a young man, maybe in his 20s, strumming a guitar. His voice wrapped around the room, rich and soulful. Jack felt the music resonate within him, stirring something long dormant. Jack settled next to Miriam as the performer finished, attracting a round of applause that brought a smile to his face. He could see how the atmosphere shifted, the joy was palpable. Everyone, for a moment, was united in that shared experience. See? This is what I meant by connection. Miriam beamed, clearly enjoying the show. As the performances continued, people took turns sharing their talents. Some recited poetry, while others danced. Jack found himself clapping along, catching snippets of laughter and stories that danced around him. Then an elderly woman with a voice that trembled approached the microphone. Hesitation flickered across her face, but determination sparkled in her eyes. I may not sing like a star, she began, but I have a story to tell. One of struggle, of hope, and of resilience. Her words wove a narrative that captured the audience, pulling them in deeper with each sentence. Jack could feel the weight of her experiences in the air, and for a moment it felt like the whole world had paused. It was raw and real. In that moment, he understood that these voices mattered. After her heartfelt performance, the applause was thunderous, leaving Jack in awe. It struck him then he had been so caught up in his own struggles that he hadn't realized everyone else had their own stories, their battles. Jack, Miriam whispered, nudging him. I think it's your turn. Panic surged. Me? I don't have anything to share. Just get up there. You have a lot to say. Jack's heart raced as he made his way to the stage. The spotlight felt hot, and for a moment, he considered turning back. But then he remembered the warmth from the chili, the light in Lily's eyes, and the stories that had connected him to everyone in the room. That he took a deep breath. Hi, I'm Jack. The sound of his own voice cracked slightly, but he pressed on. I'm still figuring things out, but being here has shown me that we all have something to offer. Kindness is what connects us. A wave of nervousness washed over him, but he forged ahead, sharing a moment when he felt utterly lost and how it was the people around him who had pulled him back up. Jack could feel the room shift, eyes focused on him, some nodding in understanding. As Jamie finished his story, a sudden round of applause erupted, filling him with warmth. He felt lighter, the burden he had been carrying slipping away. This sense of belonging washed over him in waves. When he stepped off the stage, Miriam greeted him with shining eyes. You were incredible. You should do this more often. His heart fluttered, blending with feelings of exhilaration and vulnerability. But as he gazed back at the audience still clapping for him, a thought struck. This wasn't just about talent or stories. It was about embracing the fear and sharing who they were without masks. Just as the next performer took the stage, Jack's attention was suddenly pulled from the moment the door swung open, and in walked a new figure, a woman with worn clothes, her eyes dark with unspoken burdens. The audience grew quiet and curious, their laughter fading. Jack's heart raced again, but this time it wasn't fear. It was a strange feeling of anticipation. What lesson would this new presence bring? As she made her way forward, he could hardly breathe, the air thick with uncertainty. What had she come to share? What transformation awaited them all? The woman stepped into the spotlight, her presence commanding the room like a sudden storm. She looked around, taking in the faces watching her, each one filled with a mixture of curiosity and concern. Jack could feel the tension rising, an electric current pulsing through the air. Hello, she began, her voice raw and hesitant yet underlined with an undeniable strength. My name is Grace. As she spoke, Jack noticed a tremor in her hands. Despite that, there was something fierce in her gaze. She wasn't just here to tell a story, she had something to teach. I don't have much, she continued, but I have learned a thing or two about survival. The audience stirred, captivated. I've been homeless for years. You learn to see the world differently when you're living outside. Every word she spoke dripped with authenticity. Jack could hear the stories buried within her, stories that creaked and groaned like old floorboards, waiting to be uncovered. The first lesson I want to share is this: never underestimate the power of connection. I've met people everywhere, some homeless, some just passing by. But if you share a smile or a simple word, it can change everything for both of you. He could sense everyone leaning in, hanging on to her words. Jack felt a knot of gratitude growing in his chest. Here was a woman who had faced unimaginable struggles, yet she spoke of kindness and connection. It was beautiful and heartbreaking all at once. Another lesson is about resilience. I've had days where I didn't know where my next meal would come from or where I would sleep. But every time I've fallen, I found a way to stand back up. I have learned it's not the circumstances that define us, but how we respond to them. Jack glanced around the room. Faces were alight with emotions: admiration, empathy, and an understanding that crossed the barriers of their different lives. Everyone seemed to be experiencing a revelation together. And lastly, Grace added, her eyes shining with unshed tears, never forget that hope can bloom in the unlikeliest of places. I've slept under bridges, but there's always a glimpse of something beautiful, a stranger's kindness, the sun setting just right, or even a child's laughter piercing the quiet. These moments remind me that life can be good again. Her voice trembled, but it didn't falter. The room erupted in applause, but it felt different this time. It was a collective expression of respect, a recognition of resilience that washed over Jack and the others like a shared embrace. Grace stepped back from the microphone, her shoulders relaxing as breath escaped her in a long sigh. And then, amidst the claps and cheers, a woman in the back stood up, tears streaming down her cheeks. Thank you, Grace. You've given me hope today. Jack felt something in him awaken, a seed of inspiration taking root. What she had done was more than share stories. She had ignited something powerful in the room, a sense of unity that bound everyone together through shared humanity. That he turned to Miriam, his heart pounding in his chest. That was incredible, he said, barely able to contain the emotion welling up inside him. Miriam nodded, her eyes glistening. It's amazing, isn't it? How we can transform each other's lives just by being brave enough to share our truths. Jack watched as Grace made her way back to her seat, shoulders slightly bowed but her head held high. He felt moved to act, compelled to speak again. Can you imagine, he whispered to Miriam, if we took these lessons out into the world? Her eyes widened, the same fire igniting in them. We could change everything. Suddenly, Jack knew he couldn't keep it to himself. I need to talk to her, he said, taking a resolute step toward Grace. The crowd was still buzzing, but he felt a singular pull toward this woman who had just shared her heart. As he approached, uncertainty fluttered in his stomach. What was he even going to say? How could he express the swirling emotions inside him? But perhaps Grace held the key to a new beginning, not just for himself, but for all of them. What wisdom might she share? If he could only get close enough to hear it? The question hung heavy in the air, filled with promise for what was to come. Jack stepped closer to Grace, the murmurs of the audience fading into a distant hum. His heart raced like he was standing at the edge of a cliff, ready to leap. She was just a few feet away now, and her worn, weathered face was alive with new energy after sharing her truth. Grace? He said, his voice barely escaping the knot in his throat. She turned to him, surprise flickering in her eyes before her expression softened. Yes? I just wanted to say thank you. What you shared today, it's not just inspiring, it feels like a wake-up call. Her gaze searched his, and for a moment, Jack could see layers of experience behind her brown eyes. It felt like every person in the room faded away as they held this connection. It's my story, Grace replied simply, but there was an unfurling warmth in her voice, like sunshine breaking through cloudy skies. We all have our own, don't we? Jack nodded, swallowing hard. I think I've been too caught up in my own world. I needed to hear this. A smile tugged at the corners of her lips, the kind that seemed to radiate hope. That's the first step. A lot of us forget that our stories matter. They can connect us in ways we might never expect. I want to do something tangible. What if we organized something together? A project that spreads those lessons you just talked about. The words flowed from him, igniting a spark of enthusiasm that seemed contagious. Her brow furrowed slightly, as if contemplating the weight of his offer. It's more than just ideas, Jack. It takes work and commitment. Are you ready for that? He hesitated, the gravity of her words settling in his gut. Yes. If you can endure what you've faced, then surely, I can commit to something meaningful. Grace searched his face, and for a moment, he could almost see the wheels turning in her mind. She leaned in, her voice dropping to a whisper. You have to understand, change comes from the ground up. I can share my experiences, but it's you, those with resources and influence, who can drive it forward. Her words struck Jack like a bolt of lightning. It wasn't just about surrounding himself with ideas, it was about making sure they would set roots down in the community. What do you need from me, Grace? First, listen. Understand what the people on the streets truly need. We're not just tales of hardship, we're individuals with stories that deserve to be heard. Jack nodded, heart swelling with recognition. He was ready to lean into the discomfort of the unknown. The fear began to dissipate, replaced by an exhilarating rush. Let us make that happen, he said, determination fueling his voice. I'll gather resources, talk to people, and we'll find a way to make a real difference. Grace smiled, and it lit up her face in a way that made Jack realize he wanted to be part of this journey. The applause from their audience had dwindled, but something even louder echoed in the air, the pulsing promise of change. Just then, the woman who had earlier expressed her gratitude stood again. I want to help too. Moments later, others began to chime in with their own voices. He turned to see Miriam, bright-eyed and filled with excitement. Jack felt the tension in the air shift. They were no longer just listeners, they were becoming a community ready to take action. "See? It's starting," Grace said, her voice steady. "But you must remember, change doesn't happen overnight." "I understand," Jack replied, resolute. "But maybe this is the beginning." As the crowd grew more animated, their energy infused Jack with a fresh urgency. He felt lighter, every heartbeat echoing the rhythm of potential. Yet, beneath the excitement, a voice of doubt nagged in the back of his mind. Would they be able to follow through? "Grace," he said, catching her gaze again, "if I waver or lose sight of this, will you help keep me focused? Will you keep me grounded in this mission?" She paused, contemplating the weight of his request. "You can count on me, Jack. But you need to remember, it's not just about me guiding you. You have to stay connected to those stories, embrace the struggle, the joy, the humanity." Jack felt a chill run through him, a chilling sense of responsibility settling in. Yet, an undeniable excitement fluttered in his chest. What was forged here could reshape lives, including his own. Together, they could weave their experiences into something beautiful. With the vibrant buzz of the crowd at his back, Jack turned back towards Grace, ready to embark on something transformative. As he took a breath, filled with swirling emotions, he found himself wondering what other lessons awaited them on this path. What challenges lay ahead, and would they be ready when the world started to push back? Jack stepped outside the community center, a rush of cool air hitting his face as he took a moment to breathe. He leaned against the wall, allowing the weight of their conversation to settle in. The buzz of excitement still hummed in his ears, but just beneath it lay a thread of anxiety that refused to let go. He could hardly wrap his mind around the fact that a few simple words from Grace had ignited this spark in him. Why did it feel so monumental? Maybe because her story had exposed something raw and unpolished within him. It was like peeling back layers until he could see the heart beneath. "Hey, you okay?" Miriam's voice snapped him from his spiraling thoughts. She had followed him outside, her enthusiasm still radiating from her bright smile. "Just trying to digest everything," Jack admitted, rubbing the back of his neck. "I haven't felt like this in a long time." "Like what?" she asked, tilting her head, genuinely curious. "Like I actually matter. Like I can do something meaningful." He chuckled softly, an awkward mix of self-doubt and determination bubbling up within him. Miriam stepped closer. "You can. I could feel it in there. Grace has a way of making you believe that change is possible." Jack nodded, an ember of resolve igniting again. "I want to help. But what if I fail? What if I can't follow through?" She placed a hand on his arm. "Look, don't think about the what-ifs. Instead, think about the what next. Focus on what you can do right now." "Right now," he mused, a new idea forming. "Maybe I can gather a few people together. If we share Grace's message, that could build momentum." "Exactly. We can create a focal point where everyone can bring their stories, see how they overlap, how they can help one another. You know people, they want to be part of something bigger." Her spirit was infectious, and Jack felt something shift in his chest. The fear of failure was still present, but the prospect of possibility flooded in, washing over him. "Okay, let us plan a meetup. We can invite those who were at the event." They all seemed interested. It was like the plan took root immediately, growing stronger with every word he spoke. Miriam grinned, her excitement palpable. "I'm in. Let us use social media, spread the word, see who can show up. Together, we can lay the groundwork for something huge." Jack's heart raced with each heartbeat. This was different from anything he'd ever attempted. His past projects felt out of touch, but this felt real. They spent the next hour brainstorming ideas, jotting down what they knew about their community. Everything from resources in their area to potential speakers. With each suggestion, Jack's mind raced, filled with visions of the conversations and connections waiting to flourish. "We should make it a potluck," Miriam exclaimed, eyes bright. "Food brings people together. A safe space where everyone can share. They laughed, often losing track of time, but Jack felt no tension. It was exhilarating, a thrilling blend of hope and camaraderie, and through it all, he could see Grace's wisdom echoing in their plans. As the sun began to dip below the horizon, painting the sky in brilliant hues, he paused. What if we end up overwhelmed or face challenges we didn't expect? Then we adapt, she assured him, her confidence unwavering. We learn and keep moving forward. Grace said it's about staying connected and grounded. That sense of clarity, coupled with Miriam's determination, set the foundation of what was to come. As they wrapped up their planning session, a wave of excitement coursed through Jack. This was just the start, his journey had only begun. But then, a new thought crossed his mind. Could he really weave the personal stories of struggle he had heard into a platform that uplifted others? Would he rise to the occasion or falter when despair knocked at their door? What lurked ahead, challenges or breakthroughs, and how would they navigate this new terrain together? There was so much at stake, but was he truly ready for the next chapter? Jack awoke the next morning with a sense of determination that felt foreign yet exhilarating. The meetup was just days away, and the excitement of what could unfold sent his heart racing. He pulled out his phone and stared at the screen, the blinking cursor daring him to turn his thoughts into action. That he started crafting a post for social media, his fingers flying over the screen. Join us for a potluck meetup, share your story, build our community. He added a few emojis for flair, hoping they would catch eyes, drawing in people like a magnet. After hitting send, he felt a rush of anxiety creep in. What if no one showed up? What if the idea was silly? He took a deep breath and reminded himself that everything had to start somewhere. Miriam buzzed him with a quick text. All set for today? I've got some flyers ready. Absolutely. Let us meet up at the cafe later. On my way. Can't wait to share more ideas. Their enthusiasm fueled him, even as a nagging worry lingered in the back of his mind. Was he prepared for the real struggles? Would he be able to connect strangers in a meaningful way? At the cafe, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee hung in the air like a warm embrace. Miriam arrived with her stack of colorful flyers, her eyes glowing with excitement. Look at these. We're officially promoting change. Jack grinned, already picturing the vibrant space filled with people. They're perfect. We need to give out a few today, maybe set them up in places where people can't help but notice. As they placed the flyers around town, they tapped into their community spirit. Fellow residents paused to read, some even nodding in agreement. Jack started feeling the weight of their shared energy, the idea catching hold in a way he'd only dreamed. Just as they finished, a voice broke through his thoughts. Are you guys behind that meetup? Jack turned to see a young woman, her face etched with curiosity and fatigue. My name's Lila. I saw the flyer at the library. I could really use something like that. Absolutely. Jack replied, stepping forward. It's going to be a space for everyone, to share and support one another. Lila's eyes lit up. I could use a safe space. I've got a lot to say, but it's hard to find people who really listen. Jack felt a rush of something warm and solid. You'll find it there. Together, we'll create that space. They exchanged numbers, Lila's hesitant smile slowly transforming into hope. As she walked away, Jack and Miriam grinned at each other. Each interaction was building a connection, and each story mattered. Amidst the buzz of the cafe, an older gentleman approached them cautiously, glancing at the flyers. Will it be friendly is what I want to know. Not interested in groups that just talk, he said, crossing his arms. Jack met his gaze, feeling the weight of his words. That's the point. This is a community, a family, if you will. We're here to listen, to uplift each other. The man nodded slowly, the tension easing. Guess I could try it out then. That simple agreement felt monumental. Jack realized how vital these bonds were. The more stories shared, the more they could break down walls. As the sun began to set, casting golden rays over the town, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the edge of something beautiful. But the doubts still lingered. If each voice carried pain and struggle, how would they manage the weight of it all when the stories emerged? They trudged home, tired yet invigorated, but Jack couldn't help but wonder, would they truly be able to handle the raw emotions that would surface? What if those stories overwhelmed rather than unite? His heart raced with anticipation and trepidation. Would this gathering lead to healing or heartbreak? What would he discover about the resilience of his community and himself in the process? The day of the potluck meetup arrived, and Jack woke early, a blend of nervous energy and excitement coursing through him. The sun peeked through his window, bathing everything in warm light. Today, he would take a leap into the unknown, and he felt a sense of responsibility settle on his shoulders. This wasn't just about him anymore, it was the collective hopes of others resting on what would happen. At the community center, the air buzzed with anticipation. Tables were adorned with homemade dishes, casseroles, salads, and desserts that made his mouth water. A crew of eager volunteers flitted around, arranging chairs and welcoming guests. Jack stood at the entrance, his heart racing as he watched people trickle through the doors. "Hey, you're ready?" Miriam appeared at his side, her face aglow with assurance. She placed a hand on his arm, grounding him. "Don't overthink it. Just remember why we're here." He nodded, taking in her calming energy. Right, connecting people. Each moment felt like a small nudge towards something bigger. As guests filled the space, Jack saw familiar faces: Lila, the young woman from the cafe, and even Grace, smiling brightly as she entered. He felt a sense of validation, as if they were all part of something that had taken root in the community. When Grace approached him, her presence filled the room with hope. "Are you ready for this?" she asked, a twinkle in her eye. "I am," he replied, though the uncertainty still churned in his belly. The gathering kicked off, and Jack stood before the crowd, a microphone trembling in his hand. He cleared his throat, the noise settling into a hush. Looking out, he saw a tapestry of faces, nervous, hopeful, and fully alive. "Welcome, everyone. Thank you for being here." He shared his journey of finding purpose through connection, recounting his experiences with Miriam and Grace. The room filled with murmurs as people nodded in resonance, sharing glances and smiles that spoke of understanding. Then, he invited others to share their stories. One by one, voices rose, echoing tales of struggle, loss, and joy. Lila spoke about the challenges of feeling unheard, the shadows of loneliness creeping in. The room exhaled a collective sigh, acknowledging her truths. "Every story matters," Jack reiterated. "Every struggle matters." Tears streamed down cheeks as another person shared a journey of recovery from addiction, the vulnerability resounding in a space that felt charged with empathy. The energy crackled, they were no longer strangers but a unit bound by shared experiences. Jack watched, awestruck, as a dance of emotions unfolded, laughter intertwined with tears, moments of reflection emerging through the laughter. Each person was brave to step forward, lighting the way for others to follow. When the stories and laughter faded, Jack saw the impact ripple through the crowd. Connections formed, phone numbers exchanged, promises of coffee and check-ins solidified. It was as if a new chapter in their lives began, woven together through vulnerability and understanding. Afterward, as everyone enjoyed the delicious food, Jack found himself cornered by a young man named Danny, who shared his own story of finding solace through art. "I could connect with people through my paintings," he said, excitement lighting his features. "But I never thought I'd find a community like this." Jack felt a wave of emotion crash over him, pride swelling in his chest. "Imagine what else we can create together," he exclaimed, vision brightening for future collaborations. As the event wrapped up, people lingered, reluctant to leave the warmth of the newfound family. Miriam and Jack exchanged a look of triumph, their hearts light with the magic they had fostered. This was only the beginning. Jack felt the weight of doubt lifting, replaced by purpose. They had ignited something beautiful, and the spark of connection would ripple outward. He knew it wouldn't always be easy, challenges would surface. But together, they would face those challenges, armed with the understanding that stories were meant to be shared. Connections meant to be built. As he looked around, he realized something profound. He wasn't searching for a new identity anymore. He was embracing a community the threads of which reminded him that it was never truly about wealth or status, but about the strength found in unity. With a deep breath, Jack stepped outside, the sun setting against the skyline, with hope shining bright in his chest. They could create real change together. The feeling was palpable, and now, it was time to step into the unknown again. As he promised himself to keep listening, keep connecting, an undeniable urge gripped him. The community could be more than just words, it could be a movement. Jack felt a spark ignite within him, a calling to keep this momentum alive, to invite others who needed hope. Jack knew there was an extraordinary journey ahead, but it wouldn't just be his journey, this was theirs. And together, they would weave their collective stories into a tapestry of resilience and purpose that would inspire transformation. You need to subscribe now to never miss out on the next exclusive stories that spark your heart. Leave a like now and fuel the algorithm to showcase the power of shared storytelling. Comment below your reactions and feelings about this inspiring ending. We want to hear from you. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Don't wait not even one more second to share. Let us spread this message. You are part of something special. Let's lift each other up.